Okay, my friends, it is the middle of the night, and I've just been laying here pondering, going very deep, deep indeed. I've been listening to a couple of particular Mooji videos. He's a gift to all life, as we all are. But how many of us know it? How many of us have gone beyond? Beyond, beyond, beyond. Okay, so I've been watching the self, watching the thoughts and the reactions and the answers as I ask myself the question, can the seer be seen? Can the knower be known? And I see mind at work. But you know, one of the great gifts that Mooji brings, among others, is the awareness that mind will arise. Emotion will stir. As long as the body walks the earth, these things will rise and fall. And so they're meaningless in and of themselves. If mind rises, well, mind rises. If I have an emotional response to something, if upset appears, it's meaningless. Whether it appears or not is nothing to judge by. It is mind that will come in and say, well, you're having these reactions and responses, and they're not perfect, so clearly you're not perfect. Clearly you aren't there yet. You're not awake. Well, that's mind. Can you ignore it? It has to be seen first. And once you see it, yes, you can ignore it. You can watch the whole scene play out in your living room with your spouse. And no one can tell from the outside, except the Nani, except the awakened one, whether or not you're really there in that interaction, or it's just something that's rising and falling in your presence. Does this make sense to you? I know it's different from the fare that I usually bring, but that's okay. Be true to your truth as it appears. Don't be held back by yesterday or even tomorrow. Now, can you watch the rise and fall of consciousness as the dance that appears before you? Or are you identified as the dancer? Are you into that part just a wee bit too much, perhaps? Most of us are. Most of us are, but oh, it's such a joy to begin to be able to see and discern, at least to see the mind at work. It's a real gift of higher self. Now, those are just words. Mooji is kind of famous for asking this question: can the one who sees be seen? Whatever you're watching, whatever you're responding to, you can step back from that and realize it's arising in your awareness. There are layers and levels of being that you once identified with that can be shed very easily. Many times more easily now in the ending of these cycles. The ending of the Mayan calendar is just a few days from now. On the Gregorian calendar, this is probably the 23rd. I don't know what time it is. It doesn't matter. Absolutely doesn't matter. This is a phony clock and calendar we've been manipulated with, just like we've been manipulated with the currency, with the money. It's unimportant. Step back from it. These chains are easy to cast off, relatively easy to see. One Ian Lungold video on the Mayan calendar, and you will have a whole new outlook on what is a calendar, what is time, what it's for. He's very good. Came from his heart with his message. He gave his whole life to it. And the flower and the fire burned in him. And it's a real gift. It's a torch he can pass to you if you look him up and watch one of his videos from heart. Ian Lungold, Lungold. You can find them all on mayanmagics.com, also on YouTube. So, who and what are you? Let's play here. Who am I? I am that which observes. Now the mind will say this, but if you spend a few hours with Mooji, maybe more than a few, you can dive so deeply into this. It's just beautiful. Within your being, you will be shown as near as I've come. I don't know if I'm there or not. I suspect not. As near as I've come, I am not the one who sees. I am not the seer. I am seeing itself. It's a verb. The thing turns into a verb like being. Being. It cannot be an object, or an object has to have a subject, and then you get into the creation, you get into duality. And we are not that. We play here. This is our playground. It's not who we are. And so, I am the seeing, the perceiving, the dance, the knowing. I guess you reach a point where words won't go. I didn't know what would happen when I would turn the camera on. It's crazy. It's the middle of the night. I'm not even sitting up. I'm laying here. It's amazing. I've been aware of the internal duality for some time, and it's a beautiful thing. The oneness of the whole, and yet the uniqueness of the individual perspective. How they coexist. And neither one takes anything away from the other. They are not enemies. One does not need to be transcended in order to have the other. It's like Mooji says, you are the being. You are that. I've been saying this too. You are perfect. That perfection that is now, is here. Even the mind can get there if you say all time is simultaneous. You're ascended now, so am I. We can contact that. We can get the sense of it by going within. Not the full psychic experience. I haven't had that one quite yet. But we can dive in and get the sense of it. It's very real. Get enough beliefs out of the way, and the straps that have been holding our wings down burn off, fall to the ground, and we begin to fly. We are consciousness. I guess as far as words go, maybe that's as close as I can go. I don't have the sense I am the space. I don't have, it cannot be objectified. It's not an object. And this that I am is what you are. This is what we all are. This is what we share. This is how we are united, and yet without losing anything of the unique. Can we step off the cliff, my friends? Will the magic date of October 28th make a difference? I've been one to speak out and say, probably not. But what do I know? Can the seer be seen? The answer I find is no. But it's not a seer, it's a seeing. The next question is, can the seen be let go of sufficiently to break the tie? Ah, jumping off of the cliff. Let's do it together, my friends. Let's be so one-pointed, so determined. Let's lift one another up and create such an updraft with the movement of our wings that all are lifted up into the air with us and able to look back, to look down and see, oh, you mean that was what we thought we were? Oh my goodness, how funny. And what joy now to be free. And yet, in our freedom, do we fly off? No, not me. I intend to be fully present with Gaia every step of the way. The ones I'm here to serve are present here, and here I will be, in whatever layer or level or form consciousness takes. Hey, this is the grand finale. Who'd want to go and fly off and miss that? Oh, and by the way, I'm not sticking my thumb out for any kind of ET or craft that wants to come along and say, here, let us rescue you, let us take you to safety. I hope many are wising up and realizing that there are a lot of very disappointed lower consciousness entities and beings that don't like their livestock slipping out of their grasp. And so they will lie, cheat, steal, do anything it takes to grab and hold on to you. Please, my friends, be in heart. See them from there. Say no to them just once and watch the response. Be awake. Be awake. Let's do this together. Good day. Okay. Take two. I just looked at the previous video I just made, and it didn't really say what was in my heart. So I'm trying again. We judge ourselves all the time. We judge one another. I speak up all the time and say, let that go. That's an activity of the mind. And even if you don't give it up, at least get to the point where you can watch yourself in the midst of it and realize that it's an activity of the mind and that it has no part with the real you. This thing about judgment is really important because no one can judge. No one can even see except the truly awakened sage or seer. What is acting when people interact? What is acting in a conversation? Who is really awake and who only thinks they are? My friends, most of us only think we are. We have been tricked and duped by the mind. And so it isn't something that we can judge based on your thoughts, your words, or your deeds. These will automatically rise as we're on the path of light. As our frequency rises, we have a real solid integrity that comes from the core of our being. And so all of our activities begin to shine with more and more of this integrity. We worship truth, most of us, and we're loyal to that. We're willing to surrender anything that we see that is less than truth. We do the best we can with the beliefs that we hold to hold true ones. And when we see that they are not, we let them go. We're true devotees of the light and of truth. Well, I hope that you can see that it's not possible to judge either yourself or another. We can't know. The best that we can do, the way I see it, and remember, that's all my videos are, is the way I see it. The best that we can do is to dive into heart and to stay there and to watch and observe from there. You will be taught. You're being taught from there right now, every moment. It's a matter of, do we tune into it or not? It's like that perfection of yours, of mine, that is already pre-existent. You can't be killed, you can't be harmed, you can't even be touched. The you that you really are. All of that has to do with the body and with the roles that we play. It's not us. So what we're doing here is, what I'm doing here is finding the real I am, the reality, and we transcend even the I am at some point, but let's not try to go too far with this one video. We transcend all the lesser manifestations, and we begin to be the observer of that. And this observing pays off as we begin to see the subtleties of mind at work. At first, we just see the gross manifestations, the things that are clearly apparent. Well, they're clearly apparent to us now, but maybe they weren't last year or 5 years ago. Well, they're so very clear now. Frequencies are rising. It gets easier. We're being carried aloft on the wings of an eagle, on the wings of angels. You know, we have so much cosmic help and assistance that it will boggle the mind when we know it and really begin to see it, not just sense it, but really know it. And when we're ready, you know the saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And of course, it really says, when the chela is ready, the guru will appear. But you know, clothe it in what language you will. We're all saying the same thing. The light beings, in whatever manner of speaking and culture they have, are all singing a very harmonious tune. So it's really not possible to judge anymore, because we're not looking for the being who has this plastic, shiny perfection that isn't human, that's mechanical. We're looking for the real thing. Jesus lost his temper, did he not? In the courtyard of the temple, when he overturned the money changers. See, it was the money. Even back then, the money is at the root of the evil, and there's nothing that can be done to fix it. Currency itself has to go, in my humble opinion. Okay, enough of that. All right, so we don't stop being a person when we wake up. The person still seems to appear. It has its ideas, it has its preferences. Maybe it has the odd emotional tantrum. Okay, we don't stop being a person, but we're not attached to it anymore. We know it's not real, and the temper falls out as quickly as it rises. It's nothing. It comes and it goes. The sun rises and sets, and we're not attached to it. It's unimportant. It just is. But it's just a part of the play. So I suggest we all give over judgment. Dive into heart and give over judgment. Now, what was so important that I needed to add to that other video? This is good, but it wasn't the whole thing that I saw. There's a real cosmic surrender that goes on. And if it's not scary, maybe we haven't been there yet. Because for the mind, it's the end. It's not the end of the mind's presence in our life, of its activity, but the mind thinks it's the end because it's a nothing, and all reverence and allegiance to it is withdrawn. And just the way that we've been ignoring it when we would watch and see it in action, when it would yammer on beyond the point of being helpful over this or that subject, we've learned to just turn away, to just ignore it. Let it do its thing over there, you know. That's been hard on the mind, but it still knew it had a grip on us, and that grip is right from our center, from our gut. It knows we haven't completely surrendered it. And so it hushes, it gets quiet, because it knows its obvious moves are so easily spotted, and the mind does not like being ignored. Its dream is to be back in control. Its dream is to have you worried whether you're awakened or not yet. Its dream is to never let you go. And as we approach this precipice where we finally begin to really be able to see who we are. To see that it's a verb. That it's the seeing itself. It's the being itself. that's when mind really freaks out. And a lot of people pull back from the edge because they're still identified with the mind. And they believe it. In its fear, they believe that's them. They feel it, and they choose to believe it. This is what I wanted to say. It's the mind doing the fearing. It's the mind making trouble. It's the mind creating the suffering. These are woven of mind and unreality. We're here to play the game. Let's play it to the hilt. But let's not be identified with it anymore, thinking that that's really us. My friends, it's not. We're the one observing, and those words don't really work as we get closer and closer to it, because there's not one that's observing. It's not an object, and it really can't be touched with words very well at all. That's why it doesn't transfer the picture to you well enough. But if you're on my wavelength, you're getting something here. There are many, many, and many Mooji videos out there. If you do a search on the name, many of them multiple hours long, or you might like the shorter ones. I like the ones that are at least, for the most part, at least 15 or 20 minutes. And there are times when I'm doing the Moscow one now. Each one of those is about 2.5 hours, and there are numbers of them. Mooji has been very generous. Like Alex Collier, doesn't make any money, doesn't copyright anything he does. These ones are out there offering the fruits of their service. It's available to all of us. So I will put a few links with this. They're ones that speak to me. I don't know where you are. I don't know what you're working on. So don't let this limit you. Do the search. Right now, Mooji really speaks for me. And so I share the very best and the highest gifts that I have to offer, the things that mean the most to me. And so that's what I'm doing. And we'll see now if maybe now I get to sleep or not. It doesn't matter. Namaste.